Hello, Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode of the Weekly Crusaders. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. And today we're talking about two movies that came out during the week of July 9th to July 15th. These are two movies that Brian and I both enjoy, both action, both, I guess, CGI heavy to a point, but we both feel are, for the most part, well, mostly Brian's, criminally underrated, not a missed opportunity, but people forget this movie came out. Mine at least had a sequel. I do think it was also kind of just not utilized to its fullest
potential. Mine had a PS2 game, so take that.
I mean, I don't even remember the PS2 game. but yeah, like I said, what are your thoughts on these two movies before we jump in?
Yeah, no, this is like a good part of the year because this is when you get into July is when you tend to get there's still kind of those summer action blockbusters, but most of the franchise stuff has gotten out of the way. So these are both at the time original properties, and and they were kind of unique in their own way, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna start with Brian's. This is one that I was actually really excited for when it actually was getting released in theaters because I worked at the movie theater at the time of this release. And we were talking about the 2002 dragon thriller action film, whichever one you want to call it, Reign of Fire. Reign of Fire came out July 12th, 2002, had a budget of $60 million, had a weekend opening of $15.63 million. It was number 3 at its box office opening weekend, its highest ranking, and had a finished box office of $82.15 million, $43.06 million domestic, and $39.09 million international. The biggest thing that stands out for me right there is that they did this with 60 mil. This is a $60 million movie, and I'm not going to lie, this movie looks fucking great. I mean, it's dark, it's gloomy, but the dragons, they're not Game of Thrones, but the dragons...
I think these hold up to anything Game of Thrones has done, honestly.
I mean, I will say, like, they don't hold up to, like, when the dragons are flying, but, like, when it looks practical, like, when the dragons are like, on the ground. Like the dragons look great. Like I would love to see this movie with another 100 mil behind its budget. But yeah, it's your movie. Take it away.
Yeah. So Reign of Fire basically is a movie. It takes place in the relatively near future. Because in present day, there's a character, a young boy, Christian Bale's character as a boy. You see where basically he discovers and witnesses the emergence of these dragons that came out because there's someone who's drilling in London and basically
his mom.
They woke them up, and then it basically skips to, is it 20 years later?
I think it's about 20 years later.
20 years later, where the world is post-apocalyptic. Dragons have taken over, the planet. Nothing flies in the air anymore. What people are left are living underground because the dragons are just, they're out for food. They're just constantly hunting. So it's just them living and trying to survive. Along comes Matthew McConaughey. He's got a group of Americans called the Kentucky Irregulars, I believe they call themselves. They got tanks and stuff. They team up with them, and then they fight against the dragons, trying to figure out how they can defeat the only male, supposedly, to maybe end this dragon apocalypse. So this is a movie that, the concept alone, I mean, you just tell me, a modern-day dragon movie, and I'm sold. Because, I mean, you see dragons in fantasy movies.
Yeah.
And to see them in modern day setting where people can be using helicopters and tanks and things like that to fight dragons, that just sounds like I'm sold. Then you have Christian Bale, who, was known but not huge at the time.
Well, because like at this time, I mean, we're not going to pretend like people knew him from Newsies. If you claim, shut up. I mean, he had American Psycho.
Yeah.
That was, for the most part, kind of it. So he wasn't necessarily an unknown, but he was
known but not popular.
He was still 3 years out from
Gerard Butler was still pretty much an unknown at this time.
Butler, for the most part, doesn't even look like Gerard Butler.
Yeah, he looks so much younger in this movie.
Butler looks like a baby in this movie.
And then Matthew McConaughey, you have is this bald, big, beard. He looks like a Viking. He's a muscular, just tough guy. And I'm actually surprised after this movie that he didn't play more roles like that. I mean, I like his like laid back dude bro kind of character that he plays in most of his movies. I like that a lot, but I really like him also in this version. But he never really did this again.
It's because so many people shit on him for it.
Yeah,
they bashed the fuck out of McConaughey in this movie. It's like, why? It's because he was like, the whole way through. I was like, that worked. That was the character.
So did Christian Bale in his Batman movies.
Exactly. But it was just like, no, like Matthew. This was like the first time I think we saw Matthew McConaughey as like not pretty boy, like what's up, kind of thing. And it was more like, oh shit, Matthew McConaughey can fucking murder people. Like, okay, this Matthew McConaughey fucks.
And especially because Matthew McConaughey is not a tall guy, but the way he was built and stuff, he just comes across as this giant presence. Like you wouldn't know it.
And it's not even like that. He's toned as shit in this movie, but he's not like, it's how he carried himself through the movie. And like, Bale is kind of towers over him, but Bale plays it more like a reserved, like, I'm just trying to keep everyone fucking safe. I'm just trying to avoid shit. I'm trying to hide. And then here's McConaughey just like, I'm a dragon hunter and I'm gonna kill every one of them and I got a fucking tooth and all this kind of shit. It's like, like the whole way through. It was great. I loved his look, like bald and beard and the tats. Like, dude, he was awesome in this movie.
But we already talked about the special effects. I think still hold up 100% to this day. I think they're as good as anything in Game of Thrones. Honestly, better than some things I saw in Game of Thrones.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's still there's certain scenes that look very much 2002, but most times I'm just watching going, this looks great. This
is 20 years old and you wouldn't even know it.
$50 million budget. What would they do with today's budget?
Yeah.
My God. And it only did 82.15. That's sad. That makes me generally sad.
Yeah, I mean, I have to look to see what else was, out at the time, but it's like I think
I've got the top 5 for that weekend right here. It was Men in Black. It was Men in Black 2 in its second week. Road to Perdition came out the same week, which I love that movie, but I wouldn't consider that like a straight up contender for him. Halloween Resurrection weirdly also came out that week in July, and Mr. Deeds. Those were, and that was in its third week. That was the top 5 box office.
Yes, I guess maybe it was the lack of like star power because the people who like Matthew McConaughey were more into like his rom-com side, things like that. Because he went to a series of those in a row right before this. Yeah. So I guess just lack of star power, people not want to see it. But I mean,
I think it was a mix of Bale was not a name yet. Butler was definitely not.
He was nobody. Yeah, he's just supporting character.
2 years before Phantom, right? Was Phantom 2004?
4, I think it was 4, yeah.
Yes, so he's 2 years before Phantom, so he's a nobody. Matthew McConaughey doesn't look pretty in this, so the girl, people aren't going to come in. And the female lead, I didn't really know her that well.
Isabella Scorupco, I believe is her name. The only thing I know her from, it's still the same, the only thing I know her from was she was in GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. So this was more a guy movie. Dragons, guys go through. Whereas most of the girls were probably still seeing Men in Black for Will Smith.
I guess. But I mean, this is a movie that more people should have saw. I wish they'd seen it. I don't know. It wasn't the kind of thing that was going to start off a franchise because they kind of had in the end, Christian Bale goes, off the sunset. He kind of retires and passes on the job to somebody else. And well, spoiler alert, it's 21 years old. McConaughey is dead. So, I mean, they can't really do much more with it unless they basically replace the entire cast. But it was not successful enough.
They could have carried it on with was it Colin? Was that the kid?
They could have carried it on.
Yeah, they could have carried it on.
But I mean, I'm disappointed they didn't. Like I said, it had a cool PS2 game, which I only liked because you could be the humans or you could be the dragon, and you could just lay waste to everybody, and that was fun. But I'll leave that alone.
There was a dragon video game that came out. I think it was one of the first PS3 games. I think it was called Lair, and like the concept of it was great, but the control mechanics were god awful.
Well, this game, I mean, not to get tangent. This game was fun. It did get monotonous after a while, but it was still kind of fun just to be able to be the
I'm still waiting for another really really good dragon game. And no, Spyro does not count. I'm talking about like a legit dragon game. But yeah, I'm still waiting for another movie like Reign of Fire. Like, I'm not saying remake this because that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying give us another kind of film like this.
Because besides like Lord of the Rings, have there been dragon movies since then?
No, because it's all been Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's been like, I know there was like was it Japan that did like Dragon Wars, but that was like a
sci-fi channel movie essentially.
Yeah, like a Sharknado-esque kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was, I mean, obviously you'll see like a drag, like Shazam, Fury of the Gods had a dragon in it, but I'm talking about like an actual like dedicated dragon movie. No, I
There were
wouldn't say.
dragons, Indiana Jones with propellers on them.
Kind of, yeah.
But
Yeah,
and this is a good movie. It's like, first of all, I thought the pace in this movie was very well, because it didn't feel long to me at all. I think that I liked the opening prologue. I think was done very well. You know, kind of we get to see how they emerged, but
yeah.
then essentially over the opening credits, they just kind of do
You get
this
the exposition.
exposition with him telling the story of
Yeah.
what happened since then, all the people, and I thought that was done very well, because then we don't spend a whole lot of time on that. We get right into the story of survival, and then the rest of the movie actually went by pretty fast for me.
I mean, it's only an hour 40-minute movie, which by today's standards it would have been 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, because no movie today can be under 2 hours. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
But I mean, the action's phenomenal. Like I said, the effects were great. I liked, there weren't very many of them, but I like the comedic moments, like when they're telling the story of like essentially of Empire Strikes Back.
I was gonna bring that back when they're literally doing Star Wars, and I
And
love
the
that.
kid's like, did you make that up? Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. And then like you hear them yelling out, like they yelled out, like I think Lion King. They yelled out, oh god, they yelled out another movie that was a big movie. And I was just like, oh, good for you guys. But I loved. I can't remember.
Most of these post-apocalyptic movies seem to like forget that the present happened. Like, yes, these people were here. This guy was a kid. He was 10 years old in 2002, essentially, and so yes, he would know Star Wars and Lion King and things like that, and so it's still talk about it in 20 years.
Yeah, because I want to say I can't remember when it started, but I want to say it was like 96 or something when the dragons attacked, and then it was like 2016, 2018 or some shit like that when this movie took place. But no, like I loved those moments. And that was the thing, is like Gerard Butler and Christian Bale are great together as buddies in this film. Like I said, we've been talking it up about McConaughey, this presence that McConaughey is in the movie, and he's great. And I love that moment where they take down that one dragon, which also the concept of them taking down the dragons by doing like not even gunners, but
the archangels.
Yes, the archangels, where 17 seconds is how long you have to live, kind of thing. It's like just the concept of that is like that's awesome that you guys thought of that,
right?
Like that's a great mindset. Like, oh, how do you take down a dragon with modern age? You fucking flying bait, and then you shoot the wings down. I was like, that's actually pretty fucking cool. But I love the moment when they take down the one dragon and everyone's partying. Which at first I'm like, first off, there are other fucking dragons out there. You're incredibly fucking loud. Like, what are you doing? But when McConaughey, and I bitched about this during Cinemasochism with Nick Fury, but dude, McConaughey's just chewing on that fucking cigar.
Yeah.
And not even that. He's not just chewing it. He's taking like 3/4 of that cigar and putting it all the way up in his mouth, and he's only leaving like this much out. Because like after that scene, you see him put it back. I was like, dude, you put that whole thing in your mouth, man. Like,
if you ever people who smoke cigars, some of them will do that. They'll really chaw on those things. Yeah,
wow, that's just nasty.
It's disgusting, but yeah.
But I love that scene where he's just like, oh, I was it to the land of heroes, and everyone's like, yeah. He goes, I pity the ones who need them, and he's like, y'all disgust me. Yeah. And it's just like, that's such a good scene. Like McConaughey, and McConaughey's like on the brink of tears through it, because
like, you killed one dragon, they killed 10 of our people,
Yeah, and it's like such a great line. But like I said, McConaughey, he's great in this. But Bale is great, because like I said, Bale's still a nobody, and he does a good job being the moral hero through this, who has to rise up and who has to stand up and actually defend the castle. Like, he's keeping everyone alive and survive and stuff like that, but they're not living. And so he gets to the point to push where he has like, I now have to be this. I am this now. And so I have to go and do this. And him and Creedy, who's Gerard Butler, I love their dynamic together. Like I said, them doing Empire Strikes Back, I thought was hilarious. There's that one kid in the front row who's selling the shit out of the reactions. Like, I've watched this movie so many times, and I always like, that kid is so damn good. Like there's all these kids. I am always fixated on this one kid because he is selling the shit out of it. But what I also love too, and like I said, spoiler alert for a movie that's 21 years old, because he wasn't a name yet, when Gerard Butler dies, what I actually loved about that was not necessarily like, oh, they killed Gerard Butler. but it was like that, like you actually cared that he died. And what I mean by cared is like you're hearing everyone crying that's hiding, but you're hearing all the kids yell Butler's name. And I was like, damn, like normally you just get people whimpering and whining, but no, you're getting them actually like screaming out his character name, which just emphasizes how important his character really was to everybody, not just Bale, but to the community and stuff. That like he was so loved that like because you don't get that a lot anymore. You just get like, oh no, what? But just like no, like they're screaming out his name, knowing that he's dead. Like that was like it's such a little thing, but it's so good. But yeah, I love like there's that one scene where they try to go after the male dragon, and the male dragon's like, fuck you bitches, and he just like goes down the fucking line and just torches them all. And I'm just like, damn, this dragon don't fuck around. Because it's so good. This movie, it's one of those movies where it's like if you're expecting a flashy, exciting the movie, you're probably gonna be disappointed because this movie is very grounded in its way. Like you're gonna get the action, but it's very dirty, gritty, gray, smoky, somber kind of movie. But it's well acted. Could they have added probably about 20 more minutes of actual like meatier script? Sure, but we don't have much fat on the bone. This is what it is. The story's there. The characters are there. It's like you said. It's quick. It might not be as exciting as people are expecting or wanting in 2002. Maybe that's why I didn't do so well. But this movie should have at least still done like 150 mil. Yeah. But yeah, it is a really, really good film. I hadn't watched it in a few years, and as I was going back watching, I was like, part of me was like, I want to figure out why this didn't do well. And the only thing I could think of is that like maybe it was too doom and gloom.
Especially behind stuff like Mr. Deeds and Halloween Resurrection. I'm like, oh.
No. It was ahead of those two. It finished third. It was behind Men in Black and Road to Perdition.
Gotcha. Okay.
Men in Black 2 is in its second week. I mean, that's Will Smith. It's Will Smith in its 4th of July season. Road to Perdition, that was Tom Hanks for that. So, but I mean, I would still think a dragon movie with McConaughey probably would have jumped.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not mad at that. But no, it was better than Resurrection and Mr. Deeds in terms of the rankings for that week. Now, if we go to the next week, did it stay above those two? Who knows? Depends on what's going on the following week. But yeah, Reign of Fire is it's on Prime right now, free to watch. But this is definitely a good dragon film. We need another one like this. Like we need another dragon film that's actually taken seriously. I don't want this sci-fi channel bullshit movies. I want like legit, serious dragon film with badass people in it. Like I get we get our Game of Thrones fix and like Lord of the Rings doesn't really have dragons outside of Smaug. But I really would love another dragon movie. I would be actually generally excited. And no, I'm not talking about fucking Peach Dragon either. Anything else you'd like to add for Reign of Fire?
Nope.
All right. Next, we're going to move over to My Film. My Film is a movie that did spawn a sequel. We're not going to talk about the sequel today because I thought the sequel was actually lame, in my opinion. But we're talking about the 2013 Guillermo del Toro Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim came out July 12, 2013, had a budget of $190 million. That's the budget I would love to see for Reign of Fire. Had a weekend opening of $37.29 million. It was number 3 in its opening weekend. It's also its highest ranking. And had a finished box office of $411 million, $101.8 million domestic, and $309.2 million international. Obviously, talking about Dragons of the Reign of Fire, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I watched all the Japanese Godzilla movies, or is it Toho? Is it Toho, the brand company? Yeah, I love Toho Godzilla. I'm not going to talk about 98's Godzilla, even though Brian claims to like that movie. It is not good. But the newer ones, a lot of people like to shit on that one. Was 2014? I actually thought the movie did a really good job, and a lot of people want to shit on that movie. I was like, no, that was solid. Aaron Taylor Johnson as the lead with Bryan Cranston. Fuck yeah. And Elizabeth Olsen. Hell yeah, I'd watch that. And then
Godzilla was on screen for more than 10 minutes.
I don't care. Like it did a good enough story to make Godzilla matter without having to have those. And when we did get him, when he did show up and fight, that was good. I loved watching him fight the Mutos. And then the other previous ones that came out, nothing against the Godzilla parts, is all the fucking human shit that they fucking ruined. But on top of loving that, Pacific Rim, was this based off of like an anime, or was this original?
Original.
This concept is you basically take kaijus, which are what Godzilla is a kaiju, and you basically go fucking Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Zords and go fight. Yes, please. Absolutely. I would love to watch that. Oh, wait, you're going to add Jax from Sons of Anarchy in this? And Ron Perlman from Sons of Anarchy? Oh, and Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Oh, and Idris Elba? Yeah, I'm down. Oh, you're going to have Del Toro do it? With Mr. Monster himself? Yes, please. I'll take all of this. Give it. Now, is the story the strongest? No, it's not. I'm not going to defend the story. The story is what it is. I do think that Del Toro did create a very unique world with its rules and having to do the drift and having to do that kind of stuff. It was unique. It was something I really liked. Now, and Brian's probably going to disagree with me on this because we are usually on two separate sides of this. Like you said, oh God, what movie were we just talking about? You said it would have done better as a TV show than a movie, or the TV show would have been better as a movie. We just talked.
I wanted Twisted Metal to be a movie, but
yeah, you want Twisted Metal, the TV show, which I think looks great, and Brian's excited for it too. He thinks it
looks great, but I would rather see the movie.
Yeah, he wanted it as a movie. I wanted it as a show. I think Pacific Rim. Granted, they would have to have this kind of budget, and that's why they would never have. That's why it would never work. I think Pacific Rim would have been a fantastic TV series because there's so much that they're trying to cram into this in the 2 hours and I think 12 minutes that we get in this movie, that I think this could be a fantastic HBO series with the budget and with that cast, because I feel like there's so much more story to tell with this. And Pacific Rim Uprising, that felt like a throwaway sequel. They're like, oh yeah, hey, do you remember that this movie actually made money, right? You guys want to make another one? Okay, cool. Oh, none of the cast is coming back? One of them's coming back? Oh, we'll kill her off early. And then we'll just start a new thing. And it lost all the heart or what made Pacific Rim fun to watch. I just remember watching Uprising and just being like, okay, that's a movie. I don't like this nearly as much as Pacific Rim, but I'll come back to me. Brian, you go.
Yeah, so the idea of giant mechs versus monsters is, again, just like Reign of Fire. It's like, yeah, you sold just on the concept. That's all anybody heard about it at first. It's like, this is what the movie's about. Like, okay, we're going to see it. You added in a great cast of people who, none of them are like A-list blockbuster stars, but they're all like,
time anyway.
But it's people that, this is like Idris Elba is basically his U.S. breakthrough. I mean, he'd been in.
Yeah, this was his, like, I'm gonna remember who you.
That's you start paying attention to him.
Yeah.
The other people were basically only known for TV stuff, essentially. So it's got a great cast on it, but it's basically the concept that sells it. And again, I'll get this out of the way right at the beginning. I think that, again, the special effects in this are now 10 years old, completely hold up. I think the CG in this looks beautiful.
They're great.
My problem with it lies in that I really don't like the actual kaiju designs. It's like, that seems to be something with Guillermo del Toro and the way he designs it. I've never liked any of his creature designs for any of his movies, and it really bugs me. I kind of wish he hadn't directed this and wish somebody else had. I mean, give me a Michael Bay. I know it's horrible to say. I'll watch a Michael Bay Pacific Rim. I think I'd like it more.
Then we're basically Transformers.
Yeah, but let him find some kaiju.
We're gonna have stupid jokes and no.
Well, I don't think it'd be much worse because honestly, I think I enjoy this movie, but I don't love this movie. It's like I said, the concept is good.
I love the concept, not the execution.
Right, it's a great concept with mediocre execution, in my opinion. Because I mean, the dialogue in this is super cringy. I hate the whole idea of like the drift and that whole thing. It's like that's completely unnecessary, and I didn't like that whole aspect of it. There's also things like why in the things. There's little nitpicks like, why do they have to like physically move to like move the thing, like, and then like there's pain reception, like it gets like it hits the robot in the arm and they're like, oh, my arm hurts. Like, Why does that have to be a thing? Why would they hurt because the robot got hit in the arm? Things like that.
It's the rules of the movie that they made.
Exactly. It's those rules that I did not like about the movie. I still enjoyed watching the battles and things like that. I like the cast, although Charlie Hunnam, he always sounds a little off when he's trying to do an American accent, and I wish he would have just let him there's no reason he had to be American.
It's weird. It's weird because I don't. Did you watch Sons of Anarchy?
No, I think I saw one or two, but
because he's so amazing in that, and he's doing an American accent in that. He's amazing on that show, but it just seems like every time I see him in something else, yeah, he's kind of off. I don't dislike him. I love Charlie Hunnam, but that's because I had 8 seasons of Sons of Anarchy to watch him as Jax Teller. But when I watch him as in any other film, I'm just like, you're just not grabbing me the way you did on Sons. Like Sons, you were like yeah, you are the shit. And here it's just like, no, you're. I can't tell if you're. Almost not that he does it with his eyes, but it's like I almost feel like he's either just read the script right before action, or he's reading like a board off screen, like on SNL. I don't buy his emotion in this.
But I mean, I think the cast is fine. But then again, like I said, this is the kind of movie where the cast is not the draw. The draw is the fighting. Which, in I have one other nitpick is the whole idea of the mechs fighting the monsters. It's like you have all this technology, you have all this weaponry, things like that, and it comes down to how are we going to beat the monsters? Well, let's build big things that can punch them. It's like use it for like weapons, use your technology.
But the weapons weren't working. They said that they kept dropping bombs.
Punching and kicking it is going to do more. See, I don't really get, but that's a nitpick.
But see, at the very end of the day, they're like, hey, these mechs don't work anymore. We're just going to build a giant wall.
But they pull out these swords and they do these things like, well, just use that from the beginning.
That sword worked way better than
right. And here you are trying to punch it.
Yeah, like the fucking sword worked 1,000 times more efficiently than anything else they did in the movie.
But the fights as they were, like I said, I didn't like the design of the kaiju, but still, I like watching the destruction, what there was of it. I like the fights. I watched this movie in 3D. It looks beautiful in 3D. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I don't enjoy it as much as you, but I do enjoy it.
One of the reasons why I love it as much is like I said, Idris Elba is fucking great in this movie. He's such a we're canceling the apocalypse. Like, dude, fuck yeah. And then there's like that one moment where he's like talking to Charlie, and he's like, or is it Riley? Like
North Carolina, Raleigh.
Yeah. And I love the moment where it's like he tells him an order and he doesn't it's just like, what's it, the essence of like how fucking awesome Idris Elba is. But he tells him an order, like, you're gonna stay put, whatever, and Charlie doesn't respond. He goes, like, points to his ear, like, fucking say you get me. I was like, dude, like, Idris Elba said, like, yes, sir. Like, yeah, I follow. But it's just like the little things like that. It's like Idris Elba is just so cool in this movie that this movie did give us Elba. Like, everyone recognized who he was after this film. And like I like the world they built. I love, like, Ron Perlman's in there as a cameo because it's Del Toro. But I liked his concept of his character, where it's like, yeah, they basically are like scavengers. They basically wait until a kaiju dies and like fucking
black market,
black market, just selling it all. And like, I like that. Charlie Day's manic in this. Like,
well, the thing about Charlie Day and Bern Gorman, who plays the other scientist, it's like they felt to me they more than anything else,
they were in a different movie, but I didn't think that
those
movie.
Two and a little bit Ron Perlman, they felt like they were in a Devlin Emmerich movie, like Independence Day or their Godzilla. It's like, because they would totally fit into that kind of movie, so they did feel a little bit different than everybody else.
But see, that's the thing, is like, you didn't want Del Toro to direct it. You said Michael Bay. I actually would have been okay with Emmerich doing this. Have Del Toro there for the designs and like produce. Like, hey, look,
let him do the designs.
The mechs look great.
The mechs look good. The mechs look good.
Gypsy looks fucking great. I love how Gypsy looks. But in the monsters, I don't think the monsters look bad. I think they look good. I think it's just more they need to be more colorful. But a lot of the times the fights are in the dark because it's easier to fucking.
Well, and they took that criticism into light, and then the second one was a lot more of their fights were in the light. And I'm not going to say I love the second one, but I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it.
It was just bland. It was bland to me. I was bored watching it. It
I
didn't work
I
for me.
kind of put it on par with this one.
I strongly disagree on that. But
Although they had to add the kid, and I hate when they had kids.
exactly, it's like they added this little kid thing, and Boyega was still not. I mean, Boyega's still just kind of. But I mean, unless it's Star Wars, but even then, it's because he fits with the cast there. But like not having Elba, not having Hunnam, as much as we just knocked Hunnam, like by the end of the movie, we were into Hunnam's character, and then it's just Uprising. I haven't watched this since it came out, and I've also have zero fucking interest in watching it. But I was having fun watching this again. I liked the drift concept. I understood the world building they made with it. I liked it was also very Independence Day when he drops into the breach, and then like you see all the aliens, they're like little, and like he's basically like the fucking mech is so big, and it was like, bye now, peace, and boom. It was like I loved that. Like I love
this is absolutely people say this is like, if Guillermo del Toro did Transformers, like no, it's like if he did Independence Day. There's that scene, there's the presidential speech, like Idris Elba's speech.
Yeah.
And it was more like a Devil Emmerich movie.
Yeah, I would not say it's a Transformers movie. I would say this is a Godzilla meets Independence Day with Emmerich at the helm, with Del Toro basically trying to do his best of it. But the problem is that I think he does a good job with the characters that we got. Like the father-son duo, I thought they were really well done, because you had to have an asshole character, and that guy played really well. But I love his father. I see him in so many things. He's one of those guys who's like, I know that face, and I love him in everything he's in. I think he's a great underrated actor. I'm blanking on his name.
We're talking about Max Martini?
Yes, Max Martini. I love Max
I loved him since I first saw him on The Unit.
Yes, on The Unit. I love The Unit. And every time I see him, I was like, yay! I love every one of these. If you guys have never seen the show, The Unit, it was on CBS. Got Dennis Haysbert, and I'm blanking on the rest of the cast. Oh my God.
I don't remember the rest of the cast.
The killer from Scream 3.
Not Scott Foley. Scott Speedman.
No, Scott Foley. Scott Foley was in The Unit. Yeah, it's a great show. It's a great show. But yeah, I love him. And like I said, what's her name? Who was the Rinko
Kikuchi, something like that. Yeah.
Who played Mako? I thought she was good in the film. Like I said, Diego Klattenhoff, who played Yancey Beckett, Max Martini's son in the movie. I really like the characters. What?
No, go ahead.
Did I say it wrong?
No, it's because I want a different character. Go ahead though.
Okay. I loved the characters. I loved the world building, but I do think this would have served better as a series instead of a film franchise, because I think they could have utilized the characters better. They could have grown the world more. They could have had like a monster of the week kind of thing, much like they did with Power Rangers and stuff like that. Instead of,
if it came out now, that would work. In 2013, they would not put the budget into
valid.
it.
That's very valid. Like it's just, I felt like this was a missed opportunity to have this be like a Fast and the Furious franchise, where you could have made 6 or 7 of these with a overarching story throughout. I feel like this is a franchise much like Rain of Fire, where it's like the concept is fucking great. But the problem is Del Toro doesn't want to stay on things too long. And Del Toro, he did not do Uprising, right?
No.
I didn't think he did.
He was only there as a producer, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, but this was another film, much like Rain of Fire, where it's like you take a concept that actually works. It actually is really, really good. But then you didn't grow past it. You just did one movie. It's like, well, do another movie. Do something else just like it. Where it's like Pacific Rim's like, no, you have this world. You can grow this into an overarching story, an overarching franchise, whether it be on a series or whether it be a movie series. This was here. This would have worked. But then you did the sequel, like, how what was it, like 5 years? 6 years?
Actually, I have it up right here right now.
Like
it was in 2018. So
yeah,
5 years later.
5 years removed, which at that point people had kind of forgotten about it. I remember when they announced it, I was like, great. And I was like, oh, no one's coming back for it? Okay.
Well, they brought back Rinko just to kill her off.
Like, yeah, exactly, for like 3 seconds. But I feel like this series was a missed opportunity. Like, they could have made this huge. and they didn't utilize it to its fullest potential. But I still enjoyed the hell out of it. Even as I was watching it last night, I was like, man, I really like. There's so much of this I like, and there's so little of it where I was like, I wish they would have done better, or I wish they would have tweaked it. But like as I was watching, I was like, if this was a series today, I would be all about this. Like Netflix or Prime or HBO had done a series with this, I would be like ecstatic for this. What were you gonna say? Some character?
Clifton Collins Jr., who's in there. He plays like one of the guys. You just kind of see him at the screen, like narrating.
Oh yeah. He's the guy behind them. He's the guy in the chair, basically.
He's a guy I like in movies. I think he's a fun guy and a good actor. He is so badly overacting in this movie when he delivers lines.
You know who he reminded me of? And this is gonna come off as a huge diss, but I don't mean it to. Going back to cinemasochism, Super Mario Brothers. He reminded me of one of the goons, where the one, and then we got Super Smart, and
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
the guy from Short Circuit.
I know who you're talking about.
That's who he reminded me of. Like I had them like linked together.
Yeah, this one like you're like, hey, look, we got him. He's like just totally overacting. It's like, okay,
absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy Pacific Rim so much. I enjoy both these movies. I don't love them, but I enjoy both of them. They're both solid 3.5 to 4-star films, depending on what mood I'm in that day. Anything else you want to add for Pacific Rim? Nope. I don't believe it's on any streaming. I had the movie, so
technically you can watch if you subscribe to cable, you can watch it through TNT and TBS. Their websites, you can stream it through there, but otherwise you got to rent it or buy it.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Weekly Crusaders. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, you can follow us on all the social media as you see below. Out right now, last week we did our 2023 half-year in review where Brian and myself went over our best, worst, most disappointed, and most surprising films of 2023 so far. That was
on the top of Sean's most disappointing list, my top 10 films.
Yes. Brian's top 10 is definitely...
That disappointed Sean in a big way.
But I feel like you do that more for shock factor than anything.
I don't. I'm just being honest. Anyway.
I feel like you do that just to get my expression. And then, like, at the end of the year, like, those movies aren't even in your top 10 anymore.
Oh, I told you, like, half of them won't be on there, but that's because there's still
literally
stuff coming out.
Insane.
Yeah.
Like, literally at one point, I think it was our number one of the year. I was like, we have the same number one, right? He goes, no, what are you talking about? I was like, are you fucking with me right now? Like, I like, my tone, like, literally, like, changed. And Brian's just like, it's just fucking. I'm just fucking. I was like, "You son of a bitch." But yeah, it's a long video. Watch it in parts. I do have it timestamped, so you can kind of jump to each category. But that's out right now. My review for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 is also out right now. Brian did not want to shoot a duo review, so Brian, quick synopsis of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning for you.
I really enjoy it. I think that it's very well done. I think that the motorcycle stunt was super overhyped, but I still enjoy the movie very much. I have no complaints.
Yes,
except Haley Atwell. Don't like her character much, but I liked her, and I liked her in the movie. Just her character, I want to punch in the face.
She would kick your ass.
And I would enjoy every second of that.
Yes, you would. You sick man. So would I. I'm not gonna act like I wouldn't either. Haley Atwell can beat the crap out of us any day of the week, and we will say thank you. Anyway, next week. It's
Barbenheimer.
I fucking hate you people for memeing this thing together. Like, this is so stupid. Like, you can talk. I don't chalk Brian and I as old. This is not funny. Stop trying to combine this shit. Because Brian and I were literally talking about this at the end before we shot this. Like, I am so worried about going to Oppenheimer this upcoming week because I'm afraid the Barbie fans are going to be in there and they're going to fucking get bored. And they're going to ruin this movie for people who are actually going to watch it. Like, we're genuinely worried about that. And then Barbie is just like, I want to see Barbie, but oh my God, I feel like it's going to be the most obnoxious audience.
That's the irony of this whole thing is that I know I am, and I assume you are. You and I are actually both excited to see both of these movies. But the people that are going to see, we're going to do this double feature because it'll be funny. They're doing it for the meme. They don't even care about at least Oppenheimer.
I mean, they probably care about Barbie, but they don't give a rat's ass about.
But they're just doing it for the meme. Yeah.
I mean, except for the Nolan diehards, but the Nolan we're not Nolan diehards. Like, I like Nolan. I think his last like 3 movies have not been that great. But I want to see this because the cast and how the trailers are just making
Trailers are phenomenal.
amazing.
Phenomenal, yeah.
But the Nolan fans, they don't give a shit about Barbie. I don't think they do. And the Barbie fans, they don't give a shit about Oppenheimer. And they're going to fucking clash. And I would love to see that clash outside the theater, not while I'm trying to fucking watch these movies. So I'm worried about both of those. But granted, I will see both of those. I don't think, Brian, you're going to want to do dual reviews for either one of those. But, you know, you might. And if you do, we'll have Brian on to do those reviews. If not, it'll just be 2 solo reviews for me on those. We will also be back next week for the next episode of the Weekly Crusaders. Brian's film is a... Didn't it win an Oscar? I'm not going to say for what, but didn't it win an Oscar?
It won an Oscar, yes.
It won an Oscar. It's a drama. I'm not going to give anything else more because I think it would give it away. So I'm not going to say anything else. And then my film, speaking of Michael Bay, is a movie that both Brian and I consider to be probably his most, what would you say, underappreciated film?
I agree with that, yeah.
I think so many people don't keep forgetting this movie existed. I think many people don't put this with Michael Bay, but I think a certain actress, I think it's the hottest I've ever seen her in this movie. I think she's gorgeous in this film. And the actor, I love the lead in this. But it's an underappreciated Michael Bay film, and we're going to bring that to everyone's attention. And maybe you'll get enough people going, oh, I love that movie. And it's like, great. You're like us. You're one of us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these 2 films as well, like we did. Or the last few films we've been talking about, because we've actually been talking about movies we actually really, really liked the last couple of weeks. We've been actually lucky in terms of the releases because of it being summer. But we have many more reviews coming, many more things pop up on the channel, so stay tuned for all that. But we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Walskroot. That is Brian Michaels. Until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun. And don't be a douchebag at either Barbie or Oppenheimer. Be better.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.